As a front-end developer, how exactly do you leverage AI to be able to debug your front-end applications even faster than before? Let me show you how I do it, and maybe you learn something interesting from this video. So my absolute favorite feature is the fact that we now have an LLM built into our Chrome DevTools, which is Gemini by Google. Now, I'm on Apple's website and I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. So the way you enable it is either by clicking on this icon, or you can actually go to settings and go to AI innovations, and you will have to turn on these settings one by one. But if you haven't done this yet, by clicking on this icon, you're gonna get this new tab called AI Assistance. And then it's asking you to enable this in the settings. So let's go and do that. So you will have to enable at least AI Assistance, but I'm actually recommending to do all of these. So console insights, obviously it's going to help us if we get some console errors. AI assistance to be able to chat with it. We also want some auto annotations in our performance tab. I'm going to show this in a minute. And we also want some code suggestions if we write some inline code in our console. All right. Now closing this, we're gonna see that we are now able to chat with the AI. And you can actually leave it open, go to any section or any tab that you have here, and actually start using the chat as if you have a companion. Now, for example, let's say we go to this script we selected, and you can already see that it's also selected for the chat. And you can say, what is this script useful for? And you will see that it is actually going to go and analyze the script that you just selected here. How cool is that? It actually gave us a pretty good summary, and we can go and read all of that if we are, for example, a beginner developer, or if we just want to have a good overview of our scripts within our HTML. And also you can upload any photos. For example, if you are experiencing a bug that you're not able to reproduce that easily, you can just take a screenshot and give it to Gemini here. Now, when I mentioned performance tab, what I wanted to mention is the fact that you obviously can do recording. So let's do a recording here, and I'm gonna refresh the page. I'm gonna click on, let's say, iPhone, and I'm gonna stop this. So we're gonna see that we have recorded some actions here. And for example, if I collapse this section here, we're gonna see that Chrome is giving us a lot of neat things that we can already dig into, meaning you don't actually have to understand the whole timeline here and, zoom into things and understand when functions were invoked and which of them actually caused a layout shift and so on. So let's say, for example, a lot of things happened here, and these are the red ones. So as you can see, these are the scripts that are causing us issues. What you can do instead is simply focus on these tabs on the left. For example, the LCP breakdown, layout shift, and render blocking requests. For example, this one is usually the culprit in a lot of websites. And if I collapse this, or if I open this rather, I'm gonna see that it's already identified a lot of scripts that are render blocking. So I can simply do Ask AI, and it's again going to open this AI Assistant tab. And then I can say, or I can actually pick one of these pre-made requests, and I can ask the AI this question. And obviously it's going to refer to all these scripts that have been preloaded here, and it's going to give me some recommendations after the analysis and tell me what to do. Now, this is one of the coolest features that I wanted to share. Now, let's go to the MCP feature. Now, Chrome DevTools also ships its own MCP server. And what it's gonna allow you, or it's gonna allow your agents within your IDE, is do the following things. For example, input automation or navigation, or checking the performance of the application within the browser, or debugging and so on. And I already have an application running here. It's kind of a demo application to demonstrate some things that I'm gonna demonstrate in 2 minutes as a bonus tip for you. But let's say these buttons are causing some delays, all right? This one is causing 54 milliseconds of delay. This one is inefficient rendering, also quite slow, so it's slowing our application down. And what I wanna do is tell my agent here locally to go and analyze this. So I already installed the MCP. So if I open my extensions, and as you know, you can already not only install extensions, but also the MCP servers. So I already installed this guy here. I'm gonna close this and I'm going to tell my chat to do the following. So let's make this bigger and I'm gonna paste this because my application is running on localhost, and I'm gonna tell it to analyze the speed of each action triggered by a button on my page. So what it's gonna do is actually use this MCP server that I've installed. So it created 4 to-dos. So it's gonna read the app source code, open the app in the browser, analyze each button action speed. And it's gonna do this with the help of the MCP server. So as you can see, it opened the app, and it's an emulated app within the browser. And what it's gonna do is it's going to use these tools, so to say, from the MCP server that we already saw on the GitHub page. And I'm just simply going to wait until it gives me a summary after the analysis. All right, so we are done with the analysis, even though I got this strange error at the very end. So we have our plan and how to fix it and a report of the analysis basically. So what I'm trying to say is that you can leverage this MCP server not to only do performance analysis, but actually tell the agent that you have locally to actually connect to your app within the browser and maybe find a bug or debug an issue and improve your performance metrics. All right, guys. So one last feature that I want to share you is one of my favorite ones, actually. I stumbled upon it while reading the latest release notes. And by the way, if you guys have found this video useful so far, make sure to subscribe and smash like to help me grow this channel. So what I'm gonna do is actually trigger one of these guys, which are going to block my main thread. And I'm gonna look into my performance panel. And let's say I'm having a function call, which is having some heavy function calls behind it. And I'm gonna see that this one is having some repetitive or recursive calls down below it. So I'm gonna inspect this one, SO, and since it's minified, these function names actually don't make sense, but at least we can identify where in the code it is by clicking on the source down below here. And what we're gonna see is that now Chrome is showing us line by line performance metrics and how much time was spent for each line. For example, this line, mstyle.width, basically setting the width of something, was probably the longest from this stack, was 38 milliseconds. And this is how we can go into our code and optimize our code line by line by looking at our metrics that we have within the source panel. Now, as I said, guys, I'm gonna share more interesting videos like this one, and in the meantime, all I'm asking is subscribing to this page and giving me a like, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.